person, obviously, and you can access it by townhallstreams.com, select Bucksport. If you have questions or comments, they can be submitted prior or during the meeting by emailing slessard@bucksportmaine.gov, and during the meeting by calling 469-7368. Roll call. Sue?
Yes, Councillor Eastman.
Here.
Councillor Morrison.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Bissonnette.
Here.
Mayor Stewart.
Here.
Councillor Downs.
Here.
Councillor Rankin.
Here. Next is presentation of town council recognitions. We have one tonight, Floyd and Buddy Clement from the Bucksport Police Department. PC Winchester.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for all coming. I don't know if you guys had the hall in here or not. So this obviously is a good part of what we do, recognizing our citizens. So this past fall and winter, a portion of land in Bucksport was being used to house some farm animals on a temporary basis. The owners of the animals were new to our area and were using the property to maintain it. 3 cows, approximately 15 sheep, and 2 dogs. As the fall turned into winter, the weather grew colder, and there was a genuine concern for the animals due to the lack of a barn or structure to protect them from the elements. We were in routine contact with the owners, and they were working to provide the animals a structure to protect them. In late January, a large winter storm moved towards down east, including the Bucksport area. The storm threatened to provide heavy snowfall on January 28th and 29th, and the animals on this property still had no structure to protect them. On January 28th, I spoke with the owners of the animals and learned that although the owners had found a location for the animals for a permanent basis, they had no way to move them as the storm got closer, and there was great concern for the welfare of the animals. I offered to provide help to the owners and assist them in moving the animals or locating somebody who could provide help for them. I was able to contact the Clement family, both Buddy and Floyd of the Round Tuit Farm. I have known the Clement family for most of my life and went to school with Buddy. I know the family to be a hard-working, dedicated, family-oriented, wrestling-loving family from Bucks Mills Road. I explained the dilemma and concern for the animal safety, and Buddy explained that it was his day off. He would pick up the trailer and meet me at the location. He did this with no hesitation or need for explanation from me. A short time later, I met Buddy and Floyd and the owners of the animals at the property. And here I learned a valuable lesson. I am not a farmhand. I am not a cowboy in any shape or manner, but I did a heck of a job holding that gate. However, the Clements showed us how it's really done with calmness and expertise that was amazing to watch. I can state without question we would have not been able to complete the task without their assistance. These animals were safely moved to another location prior to the heavy snowstorm that soon fell after. So tonight, I am honored to recognize Buddy and Floyd Clement for their selfless act and their fast response to someone in need. Although this does not surprise me, because this is exactly who they are and who I've known them to be. So with great appreciation, I would like to provide them with a Bucksport Police Department challenge coin in recognition of their efforts and assistance with this incident. And Director Gagan has the coin. Thank you. Thank you.
Deputy Chief Winchester, I just want to echo the thanks of the administration of this community to the Public Safety Department. You gentlemen really saved the day before that blizzard. I can tell you that my phone was ringing off the hook for people who were concerned about the fate of those animals. And when Deputy Chief Winchester called and said, we found a solution because the Clements will help us fix this, it was like an answered prayer. And I can't thank you enough for your help in resolving this situation. Thank you.
Thanks. I will give you folks a chance to leave if you'd like. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks.
Floyd, thank you. Thanks, guys. Next is consider minutes of the previous meetings. We have town council minutes from 3/10/2022. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have correspondence. Verona Police Call on 3/12/2022 and Orland Police Call on 3/19/2022. Any questions? Comments back there? No? Item 6, ordinances to consider and introduce. We have none. Discussion items, Infrastructure Committee update.
Yep.
Mark?
This evening, we discussed the potential of a land swap with the Child Care Center, land swap or donation of land up around Miles Lane for them to build a new and enlarged facility. They're going to come back when they have a little more information and talk to us about what they'd like to do, but there was a consensus that they should move forward and explore it.
Okay. Did you get a sense of when they may come back? I mean, sometime, I know they had a process they had to go through, correct?
Right, they didn't lay out a timeline, though,
They're meeting with the,
2 weeks.
to meet with Jack.
to meet with the architect was next week.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, they would be
Okay.
meeting with the architect.
So I would assume within the next couple months, we ought to have them back here again with some type of plan. Okay, thanks. Services Committee update. Mr. Morrison?
Yes, we had a number of annual appointments that we had to make, and one appointment for the Assistant Harbor Master or Deputy Harbor Master, and all were approved by the committee, and we recommend all of them to be approved by the council.
Thank you. Next is agenda items. We have none. Nice job, Sue. Appointments, resignations, assignments, and elections. As the Services Committee stated, we've got several here, so we'll take them for each committee, and we'll take a vote on each one. So we have first, Economic Development Committee, Steve Bishop, recommended by the committee. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Next, we have a resignation from Terry Doty for the Appeals Board. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor? We also have a resignation from the Economic Development Committee from Rob Carmichael. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I'd just like to extend appreciation and gratitude for Mr. Carmichael. He was an original member to the committee as a counselor and stayed on as a member of the public, so I'd like to thank him for his years of service.
Great, thanks, Rob. Next are our annual appointments. We have Cemetery Committee, Kathy Downs, Mark Eastman, Catherine Hessler, Christopher Johnson, and Lawrence Wall. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Planning Board, Crystal Harlan. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? Board of Assessment Review, we have 3, John Corrigan, Joseph DeVanzo, and Jacob Grandmason. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Conservation Commission, Kathy Downs and Mary Barker. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Parks and Recreation Committee, Sean Gagan. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Zoning Board of Appeals, Michael Hayduck. How would the council like to proceed?
There's one more.
And Jamie Gibson, page 2. Thank you. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor? Harbor Master, Michael Ormsby. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? We do have a resignation of the Deputy Harbor Master from David Grant. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
All those in favor? Rich?
Again, I'd like to express my appreciation for Mr. Grant. He's been the Deputy Harbor Master for a very long time. Prior to that, he was the Harbor Master when Mike Ormsby was a town councilor. So for 20-plus years, if not closer to 30, Mr. Grant served in some form of capacity as a Harbor Master.
Thank you. We have an appointment for Deputy Harbor Master of William Gray. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? And last appointment is Local Health Officer Luke Chiavelli. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
All those in favor? All right, thank you. Thank you to all those that have volunteered to serve. And those that have resigned, again, echo Rich's statements. Thank you very much. Approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. We have none. Next item is Town Manager Report.
Thank you. Another reminder that the second half of property taxes are due by March 31st to avoid interest. As of this morning, when I was writing this report, we have collected 78% of the total commitment for the 21-22 year. So we have significant more money coming in the next week. Requests for bids on the Bucks Mills and Jacob Buck Pond Road Culvert projects are going out this week. The pre-bid conference will be held on April 7th, and bids are going to be due to be submitted by April 26th, which will allow the council to consider them at your April 28th meeting for award. At a recent meeting of the Bucksport Bay Healthy Community Coalition, it was suggested that it would be helpful if local residents had a place where they could see local COVID-19 statistics in order to determine what level of risk they were willing to assume in going out without a mask. Superintendent Boothby was at the meeting and indicated that the school keeps weekly numbers and the Maine CDC maintains a weekly cumulative rate by zip code. In order to assist those who wish to see this kind of information in one place, I will be putting a link on the front page of our website for people to view those local numbers. Speaking of our website, our assessor has begun the migration process for information on our website to the new vendor. The current website will remain live until the work on the new one is complete. Gardner Commons and its management group has asked for a presentation on the community garden concept at their April 28th board meeting and indicated that they have questions and concerns that they wish to discuss prior to submitting any further information to HUD. They also indicated that they did not feel that this would be resolved in time for use of the site, even if it were eventually approved for this season. I am pleased to note that the Bucksport Bay Healthy Community Coalition has restarted their Thriving in Place program to help seniors and others have sufficient services to stay in their own homes as long as possible. Persons interested in this program can contact Denise Keene at the BBHCC office at 469-6682. The second contract negotiation session, scheduled for March 22nd, was canceled at the request of the Teamster representative due to a scheduling conflict that he had. I am in hopes to have the second session sometime in the next week. And finally, Dr. York of the Congregational Church has offered Brown Hall and the church parking lot as a possible location for a community picnic/volunteer fair. We are continuing to look at possible dates and locations and will provide some options to the council at the April 14th meeting.
Thanks. Any questions? Next we have permits and approval of licenses. First is a festival permit for the Bucksport Art Festival, August 19th through the 20th, 2022. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from anybody?
This matter was taken up back to the Economic Development Committee and was widely supported with a unanimous vote.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Next is a festival permit, Flash the Pans concert, May 30th, 2022. How'd the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second?
Anything else, Raj?
This was also on our last meeting and was also unanimously approved.
All those in favor? Opposed? Next is a food and liquor license, GRR Incorporated, doing business as Glenn's Place. How'd the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve. Second?
Any comments? All those in favor? And the final is a festival license for the Bucksport Bay Business Coalition, July 2nd through the 4th, 2022. How would the council like to proceed?
Motion approved.
Second?
Anybody on that?
This was not taken up at our last meeting because this was tentatively approved last year by the council. There were some amendments, but it amended itself back to pretty much original terms. And I'd like to thank Deputy Chief Winchester, Deputy Chief Denning, Harbor Master Ormsby. The four of us have met with Terry for the past every other Friday for about 2 months. So I'd just like to thank them for their time and helping to get this straightened out so that Terry can put on a great event for the town.
Great, thanks.
And it's also their catering permit, which needs a signature as well, which is here.
All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Next is discussion items not on the agenda for the council of the public. Anybody in the public have anything? Yeah, I know.
We're up. Yes, money for new road. Two quick things. One, we should be expecting a phone call from the late Jeff Fitzgerald's son, Peter Fitzgerald. I gave him the phone number to call into the office. There's a stone by a tree right outside this door here, and they'd like to put a plaque on there, and I'd like to talk to the council about that and maybe invite them to a dedication. As you know, Jeff was the assessor here in Bucksport, worked on the comprehensive plan, and was a supporter of the waterfront walkway. So we won't be adding anything new. It already exists, but it'll have a plaque on it. And secondly, you may have seen in the paper or heard around, we replaced the swings at Ian's Playground. There were 4 regular swings and 2 bucket swings that were about to fail inspection. So I saved monies over from the waterfront budget, had set them aside for this year to take care of that. The town crew did a great job of getting them up. So we have 4 new swings that are all different colors. We have a new bucket swing, and we have an ADA child swing. It was something that was asked of the community a while ago from a family. So they're all up and ready to go. Porta potties will be delivered on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and look forward to seeing everybody out at the playground.
Don't leave. While we're talking about that area up there, what's going on with the baseball fence?
The wall.
The wall.
So work won't be able to get done prior to the season. So now will be the time to start planning and bringing back to the council what the council would like to do for funding. We had met with the engineer previously from Oliver & Associates. The road, McDonald Street, was paved. Our public works director was able to monitor rainfall and notice that we had no issues with water going to the spot that caused disruption and caused the wall to fail in the first place. So we feel confident that the work that was done on rebuilding that road with the pavement will hold up for a wall and fence replacement.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
So do we need another baseball wall?
Yes, I would say so. I think there's no way anything's going to get done before school is out in the baseball season, is what you're saying, right?
I don't think so, because I think pitchers and catchers were this week, tryouts are next week, and I know the baseball team plans on being outside next week, and so does the softball team. So no, I don't. Not to disrupt, and plus trying to find a fence company right now, they're about 3 to 4, if not 6 months out.
Beyond that, the temporary fix has not had gotten worse or done anything in that interim, so we're
Perfect.
it's a safe surface for them to play on. For
It is. I coached girls soccer on that field this fall, and there was no issues at all.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public or anybody from the council have anything?
Full Oceans, we heard anything?
We were told that there would be an announcement in the first quarter of this year, which has 6 days, 7 days, however many days left, and that the town would be notified of what that announcement was prior to the general public. I have not heard anything as of today.
Anybody else? Where do we stand with trash? Are we going to spend money to buy a trash plant?
We aren't spending it. We're not increasing our anything in terms of what I've done. If the MRC does it, we're not on the hook for that. Right now, the bondholders have put it out for requests for operator buyer that has to be, that gives them until June to do that. And if that isn't successful, then the MRC, his plan is to acquire and have an operator without the for-profit middleman. The difficulty is that while that is a iffy proposition, PERC has its own set of current issues, and that is in operation and capacity, and they've recently reduced staffing because of the ability to afford to keep it operational. I have expressed my concern to the DEP commissioner of the need for DEP and the state to step in. There's a crisis north of Augusta in where trash can go. PERC is hanging on by a thread. The MRC may or may not restart, but if we wait till all these things fail, then we're driven to a landfill, which would be the only other option. And so that's all moving pieces at the moment. However, semicolon, our costs haven't exceeded anything that we were contractually, we haven't seen an increase in anything over and above what the contract that we signed with the MRC was going to be. I will tell you that the contract that I've received from the hauler of our demolition debris nearly doubles the fee for every single thing that we dispose of due to the increased costs of fuel and steel and the containers and all of that. The rate per ton would go from $78 to $89 a ton. The haul rate goes from $85 to $150 a haul. This is, I haven't signed anything. This is I just got this today in terms of it, but in terms of trash, our pressure right now, our greatest pressure is from the sharply increasing cost of the demolition debris that we accept. As far as trash, virtually every community in between here and Augusta that is either a customer of PERC or a customer of the MRC is in the same difficult position because there simply isn't another good option. We can't say, well, we'll just go here because here is in no better shape than
I guess what my question is, when the MRC is talking about buying it or owning it and then operating it, the MRC is going to then have to pay to operate it, and I can't imagine that rates wouldn't increase when that happens.
Well, the the operator or when Fiber8 was operating, they operated for the first year and something without, and were unable during that time to secure the permits from DEP to sell the products that were the byproducts of their stock. And so those licenses were issued for that plant about a month before the plant, they ran out financially. So for a year and something, they paid to dispose of the waste that was brought there instead of being able to sell the byproducts of what they did. The MRC has a pro forma on operations that that by taking out the middleman, which is what Fiber8 was, the profit making, that allows them to operate without material differences. And there's been no discussion of increased tip fees or any of that. But at the time, if that were to be the case, if that were to present itself, the question then is, if not then who? And PERC's fees will be higher significantly if they're in operation than what we're seeing now, because it's my understanding that they've just laid off a significant number of people and are operating with many fewer people per shift than they were prior to. Yes.
So there's really no real good answer coming
There's a
out of
terrible,
this.
that's what I'm saying. When I say there's a solid waste disposal crisis, there is, because regionally there's the what if of the Hamden plant, the difficulties of the PERC plant, and
Are we supposed to answer that?
yep,
Yes, sorry.
this is, hello, this is the council meeting. Hi, Peter. You hold on just a second.
Okay.
Okay, you're now talking to the council, okay?
Okay.
It's Peter Fitzgerald. So go ahead.
Okay. Hello, this is Peter Fitzgerald. Jeff Fitzgerald was my father, and I would like to invite the council and the public to a memorial. We haven't picked a date yet, but it looks like it'll be in early May. As Rich said, we're going to be putting memorial stones behind the town office where they get it engraved, and then we would like to do a memorial walk together along the walkway. He loved this town. He moved up here in around 1985, and then when all of us kids moved out of town, I asked him, what his plans were, and he said, "I chose to move here, and this is where I want to live," and he stayed here for the rest of his life. So it was great to have him as part of this community here.
Thank you, Peter. This is Pete Stewart. Let us know when that date is, and I'm sure we will be able to help you out with that and show up and memorialize Jeff too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any more? Yeah, as Mayor Stewart said, if you let us know when you plan, and we can assist in getting the word out, etc., for such an event.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for calling.
Bye.
Luke, could you come up here, please? I've been chastised for not having folks be seen and heard.
I was just wondering if you could explain a little more about why PERC is failing.
I'm not saying that PERC burns trash to generate electricity, which it then sells into the market and uses some for its own operations. For 18 years, well, 20 years actually, PERC had a contract with Bangor Hydro to sell electricity to them at a much higher rate than was available anywhere. And that contract allowed PERC, it was partnered with the MRC at the time, to afford, the MRC, in disposing of it at PERC, had very favorable rates that were subsidized by this very lucrative electric contract. In 2018, that contract ended, and PERC's electric sales were forced into the open market, which made it very difficult for them to operate in the same way that they had when they had that cushion from the electric sales. At the same time, the MRC, which was formerly a part owner in PERC, a minority owner, and had some oversight, the MRC and PERC couldn't come to terms on how to move forward, and so this divorce occurred, where the MRC went one way and PERC went another way, and PERC changed its operation from what it formerly was accepted for waste, and they downsized the number of lines that they operate, the number of people that they employed. They went through that process. And then the MRC and Fiber8 started, and then when that stopped, the alternatives for MRC was either take the trash to Norridgewock, or the state assisted in negotiating that trash that formerly went to Juniper Ridge through Casella could go there, and the trash from the MRC communities in this region could go to PERC. But that didn't give PERC the ability to sell electricity at any higher rates, and the MRC has to pay their bill every week in order to keep the doors open there. You know, the financial situation is difficult because of that application. Now, PERC has done some awesome stuff with their in using grinders and doing all sorts of things to try but the environment is very difficult because they're even getting paid. They're not. You have to have a market for what you sell that generates enough money to pay for what you're doing, and the tip fee plus that is leaving them with very little wiggle room. They've used a lot of assets to continue operations. PERC has been an awesome location for trash disposal for years, and in the divorce, the issue became that the MRC contended, and others, that they wouldn't be able to provide trash disposal at an affordable rate, that the rate would be in excess of $100 a ton instead of the whatever. And truthfully, without some intervention here in terms of where trash goes and how it gets there and what we do with it, that's going to end up, the unfortunate reality is we end up with the most cost-effective waste disposal is landfilling. And that's an upside-down pyramid, but the state-owned landfill fee for trash disposal is dramatically lower than the MRC option or the PERC option or anything else. But if something, God forbid, happens to PERC, the best case scenario is for PERC and the MRC plants to both function. That's the only thing in this region right now that will keep trash out of Juniper Ridge landfill in a big way. Because one of them can't do it. You know, it really needs to be more than one option, which is way longer than anyone wants to listen to. But the trash situation at this, as I said to the commissioner, if we wait till both of these things fail, where does that leave us? You know, there needs to be intervention while PERC is still operating, and the whatever it takes to get the MRC up and running too, because that's the better. That would allow PERC to operate under the model that they were going to operate under, which is a greatly reduced, less waste, all this, and they're operating under the old model without the staffing or anything else to accommodate it right now because of the trash that's coming from the MRC communities. But
Thank you.
I
I'm sure I wasn't the only one that didn't understand that, so.
well, no, I again, but I hear a lot of people say, "Well, just go somewhere else."
There ain't no place else to
Nowhere
go.
else.
There's right now the options are, you know, we're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic at this point in terms of solid waste. North of southern Maine, which has got a landfill and an incinerator and everything through that down there, which functions as an integrated system. We don't have that up here. So I was not knocking PERC. PERC has been a great and is, but they have certainly been having some issues related to finance because of the loss of that contract.
Any other items? Committee assignments, public hearings. Anybody have any committee assignments? So our next meeting will be our first budget meeting on April 7th. And then the 14th is budget plus council. We do that basically for a month. We have a budget hearing every Thursday. And, the budget hearings are at 6.
Yes?
And then the nights we have council, we'll have a regular council meeting at
That's
6. 7 rather. Okay.
So when do we want to do a baseball committee? I mean,
I would let's get through the budget committee. Let's get through budget first. And
jam it all right into
I
one.
I really don't think we need to do that. I was kind of curious where we stood, so at least we get a timeline in place. Anything else? Take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.